Hamlet, Elizabeth Bennet, Ivan Karamazov are three of my favorite literary characters. And oh, Don Quixote. When it comes to movies, who can forget Hannibal Lecter, Travis Bickle, or the Joker? Authors create characters, these fictional creations that play a role in a story. In this video, we will review some of the important vocabulary that you will need to have under your belt in order to talk about literary and cinematic characters. The protagonist is the main character of a drama, novel, movie, or whatever kind of story. The antagonist is whoever or whatever opposes the protagonist. And this is not necessarily going to be another person. It can be a shark, or weather, or even a rock. But the antagonist is often a person, someone who, for whatever reason, opposes the protagonist. And of course, the antagonist can be a villain. Just a note about heroes and villains. We don't use the words hero and villain interchangeably with the words protagonist and antagonist. For one thing, protagonists and antagonists are only found in literature, but heroes can be found in real life. A hero is a person who's honorable and courageous and does awesome things. You might find villains in real life too. Literary heroes and villains are a particular kind of protagonist and antagonist, and they show up in some kinds of stories. Not all stories are these kinds of stories, so it wouldn't be appropriate to refer to the characters in them as heroes and villains. Characters can fall on a continuum between flat and round. Flat characters are relatively one-dimensional and they lack depth. They probably have a single dominant trait, and you can probably describe them in a single sentence. There's a fish in the dentist's aquarium in Finding Nemo. His name is Gurgle and he's a freak about personal hygiene. Filth freaks him out. That's about all we know about Gurgle, and that's all we really need to know. Round characters are multidimensional, and they exhibit a range of traits and motivations and complexities. You'd need an essay or more to describe one of these kinds of characters. Dory from Finding Nemo is a relatively round character. She's forgetful and optimistic and friendly and resourceful and empathetic. Characters can also fall on a continuum between static and dynamic. These words have to do with change. A static character undergoes little or no significant change or personal development throughout the course of the story. Dynamic characters change a lot in terms of their personality, beliefs, values, motivations, or actions in response to the challenges that they encounter. In Finding Nemo, Crush doesn't change at all. Dory changes some. Marlin changes a lot. One thing to remember, although flat characters are often static characters and round characters are often dynamic ones, you shouldn't think of these things as inherently connected. The single trait of a flat character might be that they change in a small way, and you will find fairly round characters that are static. While we are at it here, let's define stock character as well. It's a type of character that is instantly recognizable because we've seen him or her before. The sidekick, the wise old mentor, the damsel in distress, the mad scientist, and that friend of the most popular guy or girl in school who's really nasty and picks on the hero. You know them right away. These are stock characters. Perhaps you've seen caricatures of famous figures in political cartoons. These drawings exaggerate some characteristics of the subject, and they tend to be rather funny. Caricatures in literature and movies do the same thing. Caricature refers to a character that is exaggerated. That is, that the author has exaggerated some of their traits, and they are funny, but you need to keep your eye open for satire as well. Jane Austen's novels are packed with caricatures. Mr. Collins and Lady Catherine de Bourgh are found in Pride and Prejudice. There are many examples of caricatures in the works of Charles Dickens as well, including Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol and the teacher Thomas Gradgrind from Hard Times. And here are some examples of caricatures in movies: Austin Powers, Inspector Jacques Clouseau, Borat, Zoolander, and Napoleon Dynamite. Foil characters are really interesting. These are minor characters that set off major characters by contrast. So first, let's look at an example in literature. That greatest of Shakespeare's plays, Hamlet. Hamlet is the main character, and he has lost his father. And much of the play is about his reaction to the loss, the murder actually, of his father. There are two other sons in the play who have lost their fathers as well, Fortinbras and Laertes. And these guys react very differently. They are Hamlet's foils. In the book The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn is the foil to Tom Sawyer. In my reading of this book, Tom is caught in between the call to freedom and settling down, being domesticated. Huck represents what a free life looks like. It represents what Tom doesn't ultimately choose. Lieutenant Dan is the foil for Forrest Gump. From Shawshank Redemption, Brooks Hatlin is the foil for Ellis Red Redding. Characterization is the means by which the author reveals characters to the readers or the audience. And characterization is done both directly and indirectly. Direct presentation is where the author explicitly describes the character, comes right out and says it. The narrator or another character might just come out and say, Sarah is a compassionate and caring person who always helps those in need. By the way, in student writing, 80% of the time the female protagonist will be named Sarah. Anyway, indirect presentation is when the author provides information about the character's traits, or personality, or background through their actions, or thoughts, or dialogue, or appearance, or interaction with others. J.K. Rowling characterizes Severus Snape through the course of what, 7 novels? By what he does, by what he says, how he says it, what others say about him, how others react to him, by his relationships to others, who he does and does not have a relationship with, and through flashbacks. These are all the ways of describing a character indirectly. Okay, that's a whole bunch of stuff about character and the vocabulary associated with it. My next video on this topic will be what to do if you've been asked to write a character analysis. Thank you, and we'll see you there.